Hello and good morning. My name is Christopher, an amateur weather observer, and welcome to a new episode of my daily backyard weather observation here in our neighborhood at Lorne Park Lakeshore, Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. It's Sunday, June 30th, 2024, 9 o'clock in the morning. Mix of sun and clouds at 6 octets. Temperature, it's 18.3 degrees Celsius, and the pressure is rising at 1015.1 millibars, and the air quality reading is low at 7.5 microgram per cubic meter, for fine particulate matter at 2.5 microns. Precipitation wise, let's check the rain gauge. So we got 6.0 millimeters in the past 24 hours. And this rainfall measurement will be entered in the CoCoRaHS.org website under station ID CANWARN646. Well, speaking of rain, we recently drove across the border to Buffalo, New York, and visited the famous Frank Lloyd Wright's Edward Martin house. It's actually a mansion. And the Martin house was built in the 1900s and is an iconic example of Frank Lloyd's early design during his career as an architect. And the connection of the house to the weather is, when we were doing the tour, I've noticed that the eaves in the Martin's mansion is there's no trough, meaning there's no metal pipe that's connecting the eaves to the ground. And clever enough, Frank Lloyd's design to the house is, instead of having a trough, basically what it has is a drainage that directly vertical, the water will have dropped from the eaves. And it's quite fascinating. The way they describe it is, when the occupants back then, which is Martin and his wife, they will just simply watch the rain and let the water drop from the eaves into the catchment onto the ground, as if you have your own waterfall. And that kind of concept was actually depicted as well in the visitor center, where instead of having a typical roof where you have an apex at the top, it's actually an inverted roof, which means every time there's a rain or snow, the precipitation will just fall into the center of the building, and that rain will then be collected into the column that's supporting the building. So it's just quite fascinating on how the architecture in both the Martin's house, which was designed by Frank Lloyd's, and the architect who designed the visitor center was also inspired by Frank Lloyd, as well as rain, which is something that you don't typically consider when you design a house. So it's quite fascinating. Wherever you happen to be in Buffalo, I highly recommend visiting Frank Lloyd Wright's Martin house. There you go. And it's a long weekend here in Canada, so if you happen to look for any activity that might interest you and your family or friends, especially if you're into architecture, that's highly recommended. Well, friends, as I always say, wherever you are, remember that the sun is always there and the cloud shall eventually pass. Have an awesome day. See you again tomorrow. Take care.